First, I want to say you look very healthy for someone that was up until 3 a.m. last night. Thank you, Director, for coming. I wanted to say it's clear from this hearing that a few things, right? That we have been moving in a direction towards remote work before the pandemic, that it was greatly expedited during the pandemic, and then now we are at a situation where we have a lot of employees that are working remote. So my question, and I think what's coming out of this hearing, is not the fact that people are working remote. The question is, are the parameters in place that normally anyone would see in the private sector, having been someone myself who worked in IT and worked remote, you have specific expectations of a workforce, and you put into place tools, policies, procedures that then enable you to take your workforce remote. And I'm wondering if we didn't get the cart before the horse here, right? And it may be because we had the pandemic, but the question is, and this is from your testimony, you indicated that there are individual agencies that have had success, right? So, but when you read between the lines, what agencies have not had success in remote working?
Well, I was speaking to Congressman, and thank you for that question, of where I've seen reports and studies. That's not to say that other agencies haven't been able to document it. What I've sought to emphasize during this hearing, and maybe not as effective as I'd like to, is that we have really emphasized to agencies that they have to continue to assess to ensure that they have a healthy organizational, that their organizational health and organizational performance is on par for them to be able to deliver on mission. And I think a part of that is also ensuring that they have the tools. They've considerable IT enhancements during the pandemic has allowed for individuals to work away from the office. We're doing trainings government-wide focused on how to manage in a hybrid work environment, all the things that I think are important.
Right, and so I want to just kind of get down to that. Like, first, before I forget, I want to ask, we've heard that there's a great percentage of workforce that is now working remote. How much space has that freed up? Has that freed up office space that we are either leasing or potentially could sell?
Well, that's not my area, it's with GSA, but we are working closely with them, and that's certainly part of the effort is to determine, now with the new workplace arrangements and the new environment, what space is being utilized and what isn't, in order to build in that cost savings. The US PTO, that's been really the longest running.
So there is potential there, is what you're saying, and
Yes.
something that we could get information from you in the future.
From GSA.
Okay, from GSA.
Yes.
Okay, back to the performance metrics. So for example, it sounds like you've given the goal, but have you given any objective measurable goals to these different agencies to say, if you're not hitting this level of satisfaction, this level of turnaround time, this level of call wait time, are you giving those kind of levels of objective goals for each of these agencies to achieve?
Well, OMB manages kind of performance across government, and so we serve on the President's Management Council. We also work closely with OMB, and these are conversations we're having at the senior leadership level, and it's going to be dependent on each agency, right? Every subcomponent, we have more than 2.1 million individuals in the federal government, so it's really going to vary component by component what those performance metrics need to be, but they absolutely need to be articulated.
Right, and while I understand that they can't be universal, but there's certain things that can be. For example, satisfaction, like customer, or in this case, the taxpayer and their satisfaction at the end of whatever service is performed is something that could be universally adopted, right?
Absolutely, there is a GSA customer service survey that is a barometer, and we use that at OPM, and we've actually increased those numbers.
But that's inter-office, right? It's not sent to taxpayers. So at the end of, for example, the passport issue, is that individual sent a survey saying, are you pleased that you were on the phone for 4 hours?
Well, for retirement services, we send out a customer survey, so I would presume, but I don't know for sure for
Okay.
State Department and for the passport.
And then the other question is any of that information, could it be made transparent? Because in the private sector, it's not only, these are underlying the very idea of sending employees remote, is that you have to have these tools in place. Otherwise, employees are really not managed. And if you have these tools in place, then the transparency is the final part. And the goal is, are you making this information transparent? Are the taxpayers able to see what are the satisfaction scores? What is the ticket turnaround time? What is the average wait time?
Well, what I can do, Congressman, is certainly take this back to our colleagues at OMB because they manage performance.gov, where there are a number of metrics that are out for public purview. And certainly we have a customer experience executive order, which is also setting a certain standard that OMB helps coordinate. So I'd be happy to take that back as well, the request that you've made.
Thank you.